Africans. African, number one, is a wild African who would rather live in the laws of the jungle, fend for himself, hunt for himself, eat the animals that he wants, and select the choice pieces of the meat and eat with his family. But the domesticated dog would be just happy to be living in the master's house. And while in the master's house, be very excited, number one, to receive leftovers from the master. Number two, live on the leftovers from the master's table. Three, have his skills managed by the master. And I think as Africans, we need to start thinking, who were we before we became domesticated dogs? What were we before we became institutionalized dogs? What did we used to eat before we are given leftovers by the master at his house? The domesticated dog will make sure that he protects the master at all costs, sleeping outside and bark and bark and bark to everything that seems to be threatening the master. Don't bark at religious threats. You are threatening the religion of the master. Hoof, hoof, hoof. Or bark at the master's economy. You can't do this, you can't do that. You can't drive a car. You can't. This belongs to our master. Get out of your car, Maponga J, and go back and ride donkeys. This is the master. You can use a cell phone because this is the master. You can't do this. You can't do that. Woof, woof. Protect the master at all costs. Because a domesticated dog, the priority is to make sure that the master is safe. While the wild dog knows no rules in its own jungle to fend for itself and look after itself. And once in a while, the wild dogs would come to the village where the master was staying and steal some sheep. It was the business of the domesticated dogs to chase away these dogs that are meant to be coming to eat from the master's flocks. And I think sooner or later, the wild dogs seem to have a free, better life than the domesticated dogs. So, the conclusion of the story, the master then dies. The master finally dies. The homestead collapses. Hunger strikes because no one is now here to feed the domesticated dogs. These dogs are not friends with the ones that are in the bush, and they've always been fighting with the dogs next door. So some of the dogs in the master's yard have to look for new addresses in the homes of new masters, next doors, there and there. But some of the domesticated dogs, they walked back into the jungle, where they were now strangers to family, to networks. In some certain times, even the skills of hunting had deteriorated to such a level that they would die in the jungle trying to reintegrate themselves with the cruel laws of the jungle. And I feel as Africans, as we see the constant deteriorating health of our master, the colonial master, we need to start deciding, do we sit around the grave of the master and moan, oh, it used to be nice in the days of the white men. It used to be nice in the days of apartheid. It used to be nice, during those days when we would go hunting and the master would feed us, he'd take us to hospital and look after us. It was nice. And you've heard some of these domesticated dogs always glorifying and pontificating the beauty of staying in the master's house. But the wild dog fully understands that it was never meant to be domesticated. It could live by itself in the midst of a jungle that is difficult. I wish to conclude by saying you have to make a choice. You have to make that difficult decision to live as a domesticated dog, to change address, and from being a Christian, then you must become Hindu, then you must become Muslim, then you can become, Zoroastrianist, you can become Toism, you can become that, change homes, change masters, because the colonial master has collapsed. Or you may just want to abandon domestication and go back and understand, relearn how to live and how to survive in the jungle. Life is a jungle. Life is a jungle where you need to be indigenous to the jungle. Understand the laws of community function, and appreciate your authenticity within the jungle, and refuse to be comforted by bones, by leftovers. Refuse to become a watchman at the door of your master. Remember, African child, you have the legs, you have the speed, you have the nose, you have the eyes. You can hunt, you can survive, you can live in this jungle, because that's where you're coming from. Refuse to protect the institutions of the master. Rather, start learning how to build and protect your own institutions and keep survival in the back of your mind. Because if we are not careful, we are all going to die together with the master. So 2 options, 3 options. When the master dies, you can remain at the house, cry at the grave of your master. 2, when the master dies, you can decide to look for a new home and continue to be domesticated. Option number 3, when the master dies, you can actually decide to reintegrate yourself with the jungle. That's where you come from. Reorient yourself. Reintroduce yourself. Find new colonies in the jungle and continue with life. It's a difficult decision to make. Very difficult decision to make. And I can see you are now a confused human being, according to Douglas Mental Teresa. Douglas Mental Tapera writes and says, you have now become confused. Very interesting, Mr. Tapera, that you can notice my confusion. Yes, there is confusion, because the master is losing his health. The master is dying slowly. I can see. And the question I'm asking myself, Mr. Tapera, is what will happen when they bury the master? What will I do? Having lived in this domesticated house for such a long time. So yes, you're right. Confusion is part of solution finding. You may think that this is crazy from a very Platonic way of thinking, but if you apply your mind to what I am saying, Mr. Tapera, you may gain a little bit of understanding in terms of the world that we are living in. The African has been domesticated. His diet is now domesticated. His health is now domesticated. His medicines are now domestic medicines. If you look at his way of life, he's domesticated. You look at his banking, he's now domesticated. His fashion is now domesticated. And as it were, colonization found Africans in the wild jungle, as they say it, and they brought the Africans out from the bushes and they put them in towns. Here we are, living in towns and in concrete caves, as I call them. These concrete caves we call our homes. That's the domestication of the African I'm talking about. The wombs of the women have been domesticated. The sexuality of men has been domesticated, and the domestication process is something we may also want to call colonization. In simple words, colonization is domesticating of an African to make him a domesticated dog. So, Mr. Tapera, in all your wisdom, I'm sorry to mention that domestication is a psychological problem. It will make you think that when you insult a wild dog, you are a better domesticated dog. I'm sorry, that might sound quite very, very unpolite, but I cannot mention it or say it better than that. That even while you're listening to the illustration, you still cannot hear. You are the watchman at the door of the master to make sure that any threat to the institutions of thinking and the psychology of the thinking of the domesticated dogs is not disturbed. In fact, the agenda of the master must continue, and our welfare is sure. I don't blame you, Mr. Tapera, because eating leftovers has become your diet. And anything that seeks to give you a full springbok, a full animal which you can eat by yourself, it's not an idea that will cross your mind in another couple of years until you wake up from your sleep to discover that you are standing at the periphery, standing at the edge, the fence of the master and the jungle. You are just a fence away, literally a fence away. This side of the fence, that's where domesticated dogs live. That side of the fence, that's where wild, organic, indigenous dogs are surviving. And the illustration is a simple analog that reminds you that before you stayed here, before you became this, you were that. And that is not better than this. That is not worse than this. Yes, this looks more comfortable, and that looks more risky. But maybe that's what life is all about. It's your risk appetite. Would you rather continue as a domesticated dog? But some of us who have started to smell the excitement of the jungle, the excitement of living organically and indigenous, the excitement of reintegrating and relearning, remembering, reconnecting, re-establishing, re-hunting. You cannot die of hunger. You cannot die of hunger, Mr. Domesticated Dog. The bush is here, right here, right here. You cannot wait only to go hunting only when the master has decided that let's go hunting. Maybe some of these comments, like Mr. Tapera is giving me, I want to blame them on the domesticated medicine, like COVID vaccinations. I don't blame you. Maybe you've been so domesticated that you feel you cannot even kill a rabbit by yourself. You must wait. Mr. Tapera, the boss is calling you. Boss is calling you. He wants to go hunting. And that's when Mr. Tapera would wake up and lift up his ears, wag his tail, and start looking, resurrect his nose, start sniffing around. What are you doing, Mr. Tapera? I am going to look for meat. I'm going to look for meat. Meat for who? I'm going to look for meat for the boss. The boss who? The boss is here behind me. And what I'm going to eat when the boss is killed, he's going to give me some hooves. He's going to give me some hooves. Man, it's painful. It's painful. It's painful. Reconnect, my brother. Reconnect. Alex Conga. Reconnect with the jungle. Reconnect with the jungle. It all begins with the change of mindset. Mr. Varashe recommends to us, Mr. Ru Varashe, it starts off with mindset change. Who are you? What are you? Who were you? What were you? And when you understand and you get fed up of leftovers, you get tired of being a watchdog outside, you get tired of sleeping outside when the boss is inside, you get tired of working for companies and industries of colonial systems while you're receiving a bicycle and a certificate at the end of 25, 30 years of labor. You get tired of being told what to do. You get tired of being beaten by the master. You get tired of eating bones. Eating bones, Mr. Tapera. When you finally wake up to discover, I am not a bone eater. I am not a bone eater. I also deserve to eat the liver. I deserve to eat the soft steak. I deserve to eat, I deserve dignity. Maybe you'll never understand some of these teachings that we're sharing with you. And every time you look at yourself as a better African, because you have better clothes, because you have better cars, because you have better medical aids, because you have better houses, because you have better this. But after you've made yourself better as a domesticated dog, psychologically, you need to start fixing your mind because you have left your destiny in the hands of the master. I've heard some other Africans say, oh, well, eating hooves is African, you know. Eating chicken feet is African. Eating chicken intestines is African. You know, eating eating cheap, cheap leftovers of meat that is African. Are you telling me that before the Africans became domesticated, they used to kill and only eat hoofs? Are you telling me that before colonization, Africans only used to eat the intestines and they would throw away the rest of the food? No. We would eat everything, including the hooves, including the liver, including the kidneys, including the selenoids, including the T-bones. We would eat everything. But when the master came, then he would cut all the hooves and then give them to the Africans and take all the meat and sell it in the choicest shops for his friends. And because Africans were living in such poverty, they would come back from work with bags full of chicken feet and chicken intestines. And then when they get home, they begin to sit around their families, and we even created a culture around chicken feet. Created a culture around hoof eating. Hoof eating. Wow. One can only sit alone and wonder as to what kind of a mindset is that. And right here, and thank you, Mr. Ebenezer, for reminding us today is Kwame Nkrumah's birthday. And on Kwame Nkrumah's birthday, we are saying, Africa arise. Kwezi Taka, Africa arise. When they throw away bones at you, sometimes walk away from the bones. And they throw chicken feet at you, sometimes walk away from the chicken. You need to start asking yourself the question, when I'm eating these hooves, where is the liver? Where is the liver? Where is the T-bone steak? Where is it? This is not all. And for me, that's a new way of restructuring, rewiring our minds. That we need to start walking away from mental poverty, psychological damage. We need to walk away from mental slavery, religious colonization. We need to walk away mental psychology. What are the best medicines? Are these capsules? Are these herbs? We need to walk away from psychology of colonial institutionalization. How best can we live? How best can we survive? How best can we drive an African agenda that protects our well-being, our identity? And until we get there, we are not yet there. So I'd like to celebrate Kwame Nkrumah's birthday by making an announcement in their homestead. And their announcement is that the jungle is waiting. The forest is waiting. We have the skills. We have the speed. We have the nose and the eyes. We have capacity. We have ability to walk away from this homestead. And I have been accused of being confused because sometimes I speak religion, sometimes I speak culture, sometimes I speak that, oh, Maponga, please stick to one thing, stick to one thing. You're confusing us. No, we are not leaving any one of our tapera dogs in this homestead. We will walk into the bush, learn a little bit of what is in the bush. We will come back home and whisper to the other dogs that are still here, hey guys, there's more food out there. There's more food out there. We'll go back to the jungle and the caves. We learn a little bit from there. We'll come back to the domesticated dogs and say, hey guys, don't worry, man. I found a pool of water somewhere there. We can go drink together there. We'll walk back again into the jungle, learn a few herbs. We come back here. No, man, guys, don't need to die of cancer. There is a cancer bush there. There is a mamveva there. There's this herb and this herb. You can survive in there. We We come back this other side, we check around and we find you eating bones. And say, no, man. They've just killed a fresh animal out there. You can also come and enjoy some soft liver and stuff like that. So with those few words, I want to say, man, we need to start thinking education, think business, think governance, think economics, think education, agriculture, sports and recreation, entertainment, health and technology. Ultimately, we need to start thinking, what is domesticated faith, spirituality, and what is organic indigenous faith, Ubuntu. And under domesticated spirituality, what are we worshipping? Who are we worshipping? Why are we worshipping? And even if a dog can go to church with its master, it will still remain outside, and the master goes inside. You escort, perekedza. You walk together with him. You walk together with him to church, and then outside you stand. And those who are the owners of the buildings will walk into the church and speak to their gods. And when they finish that, then Poki, then they walk back with you home. So even escorting our masters to church does not make us masters. We still remain dogs protecting the very church where our bosses are enjoying themselves on the inside. When the Jews lift up their hands and call upon their God, Yahweh, Yah, Israel, and when they pray, you have chosen us, and what, and we are and you are there outside listening to the echoes of the master when the white man walks into church, and we are this, thank you God for giving us land and for giving us